Hello, and welcome to another edition of It's Just Me. Of course, I'm Brent Fox. Now, I again have to start off with an apology, just stating that I did miss last week's show and I did not hold up to my word. That has to change. So, what it's going to take is me to just sit down and come up with a system that would actually work and something that I would be able to stick with to try to make sure that I get this content out. Point blank and period. Okay. So the best apology I can actually provide to you all who have been very loyal as far as supporters is improved behavior. So look for some improved behavior. I'm saying that to you all. That way, of course, I can be held accountable for it, and then also to make sure that I hold myself accountable because I have said that. So I got to stand behind what I'm saying, or else what kind of person am I? All right. Speaking of such, I am going to primarily talk about the state of modern boxing. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is not a family friendly conversation. There's going to be a lot of passion that's going to be involved with this one, and the language is not going to be great. I'm just warning y'all in advance. You know, the parental advisory, split lyrics thingy should pop up or whatever. This is going to be bad. Now, I am, on a more positive note, very excited about the beginning stages of my Pittsburgh Steelers going to Latrobe. That is a tradition that has been going on for, I think, 60 plus years. And, I'm very excited to see the new developments with some of the players and, just them executing some things on offense, and then also just kind of the schemes or schematics on defense being actually put out there on the field, and just kind of getting a feel for what the season may bring or what the team may actually wind up looking like. So very excited about that, but I'm primarily talking about boxing today. So without further ado, I'm going to start off on a positive note and talk about a fight that's actually happening. So there is a fight that is actually happening with William Zepeda and also Lamont the Reaper Roach. Now, this particular matchup I think is at 135 pounds. And Lamont Roach, of course, is best known for his performance against Gervonta Tank Davis, in which he tied Gervonta infamously, but we all know what we saw, and we can't unsee that either, okay? Tank really lost that fight, and, of course, to try to keep his reputation up, there was a tie. Now, some people would argue that, he just didn't do enough to really separate himself and get the win, but that's a bunch of BS. If you watch the fight with no commentary, I think it's important for real boxing fans to actually watch these fights without commentary. You need to watch the fights like people would actually watch other sports or game film when they're scouting somebody, without any sound. That way you can build or formulate your own opinion and not be swayed by anything anybody else is saying. So, I would highly suggest that if you're trying to watch or study somebody, just watch it with no audio. Now, what I will say as far as the matchup is, William Zepeda, of course, is a southpaw volume puncher that would give anybody trouble on any given night. Now, of course, Lamont the Reaper Roach is a very fundamentally sound boxer, not known as a big puncher, but I think that he punches sharp enough or accurately enough to gain the attention or the respect of his opponents. So, I would probably look for Lamont to try to punch in between sessions with William Zepeda, who is known as a volume puncher. And with William Zepeda, of course, the way that he actually wins is just by outworking his opposition. So, simply put, with this particular matchup, if Lamont Roach is able to control the fight by landing the more effective punches in between the flurries that William Zepeda is actually going to throw, then he has a very good chance of actually winning. If he is able to disrupt William Zepeda's work rhythm, then he can definitely win this particular fight. Now, the way that he's going to probably do so, and I think this is probably going to catch a lot of people off guard, is that and this is a small detail that could probably make a big difference. I think that if Lamont Roach is actually able to line up, I think on the inside of Zepeda's right hand, and I know it's a huge risk because you're opening yourself up for his left hand, but the reason that I'm saying that if he lines up inside of Zepeda's right hand within, I would say, mid to very close range, and try working inside, you have a better chance of actually disrupting Zepeda's work rhythm. If you've all have watched the Shakur Stevenson fight, a lot of the big reason that Shakur was able to actually separate himself, and I do know Shakur is also a southpaw, the reason that Shakur was actually able to separate himself was because when he was able to line up inside the right hand of William Zepeda, it almost handicapped his left hand. It almost handicapped his left hand into being almost not as effective as he would like to, as he would have liked it to have been. And if you're taking something like that away from someone who throws a lot of punches, then you stand a better chance, or you have a slight advantage that could probably help you win. So I would probably look for him to kind of align inside the right hand, which is going to be here. If he lines up inside of this particular hand and disrupts the rhythm with the left hand, then I think that Lamont could stand a better chance of actually winning. Now, as crazy as that sounds for a southpaw, again, the reasoning for that is to make sure that the left hand is not as effective or active as Zepeda would like for it to be, because the opponent is almost smothering that particular hand to where it can't be used as much. So I would probably look for that. I would also look for, again, Lamont Roach to try to disrupt the rhythm and the work rhythm of William Zepeda. And I would also look for Lamont Roach to try to be effective towards the body of William Zepeda. Now, of course, nobody really likes body shots, but I do not think that Zepeda actually takes those. He takes them most of the time. He can take them at a decent rate, but I don't think that he actually takes them very well. Now, Zepeda, to his credit, does have a strong chin from what I've seen, but I think that and I think that he's actually been knocked down a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken, but or at least wobbled. I think that fight with Tevin Farmer, he was wobbled quite a bit, if not knocked down. But other than that, I think that he has good durability. But I think those particular body shots, because he is a volume type person, it can effectively slow him down as well. So I would probably look for some work to the body. I would also look for a lot of clinching as well. Clinching, despite what anyone wants to tell you, is a part of boxing. If you are able to effectively disrupt the work rate and timing of an opponent by getting your attacks off and then clinching afterward, not at not at a rate to where the ref would actually want to tuck points or anything else like that, it is very effective. Very effective. That's why most people, when they fight inside, they'll throw their shots and then somehow get tangled up. That's effective. That is very effective. And it's also very, very frustrating for the opponent because they're not able to get their shots off and they're tangled up at the same time. And of course, the clock is always ticking as far as those rounds go. You only have like 180 seconds per round to make an impression. And most of the time, that's enough time to actually just do what you need to do if your level's above. Now, if you're even with someone or if someone has a slight advantage over you, then of course that time is more valuable than ever. So again, I would really look for Roach to try to disrupt any type of work rate or rhythm that Zepeda actually has. Now, of course, with Zepeda, it's pretty simple. It's not easy, but I think that it's pretty simple. If Zepeda is able to basically outwork Lamont Roach and make it look as though Lamont Roach is not being effective as far as just trying to counter or anything else like that, then Zepeda stands a very good chance of winning. I think that with Zepeda's southpaw stance against, of course, Lamont the Reaper Roach's orthodox stance, it causes problems. Most of the time, southpaws take away your jab, and then that kind of also leaves a situation to where you may have to work backwards as an orthodox fighter, just meaning that you're probably going to have to throw a lot of 2-3 combinations, which is basically like your straight and then you come back with a hook. It's backwards for an orthodox fighter. Orthodox fighters, we like to actually just set things up with the jab and then come in. If we're having to just go strong hand first and then come back with something else, it is a bit disruptive and unnerving at times. But if you get it, I mean, with southpaws, once you actually just work with them a lot, it's not that much of a big deal. And then there are some cases to where you can find proper angles to be able to throw your jab effectively against a southpaw. Or sometimes you can actually throw a 3-2 combination, which of course is going to be like a hook and then straight lead hand combination, and be effective with that as well. So there are ways to actually just kind of overcome a southpaw, and I know that I'm primarily talking about how orthodox fighters beat southpaw fighters and things of that nature. Look, I'll be honest with you, man. Me as an orthodox fighter, I love being able to set up my jab. Southpaws cause problems naturally for that because of their stance. So yeah, I'm not so fond of them, okay? Shout outs to Errol Spence, though, on a brilliant career. I believe that he's a Hall of Famer because of his resume. If you actually look at the opponents that he's been able to fight, these were the best guys that were available in his era. Now, yes, there was the elusive Keith Thurman fight, but that is Keith's fault completely. That is Keith Thurman's fault completely. So again, that particular fight never materialized because of the actual fighter. So, and then of course, yes, there was a devastating loss to Terrence Bud Crawford, and with him actually fighting Tim Tszyu, and the results being the way that they were, it is a situation to where, yes, he would probably need to at least put his boxing career at rest for now. If there is a moment where he maybe decides to go against what his normal motto is and actually just take a few tune-up fights to try to build back up, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But again, I think that Mr. Spence is he's actually at peace with that particular decision, and I understand it. The thing that actually made him great was that he is going to fight great opponents or no opponent at all, and to his detriment, that was his undoing. So yeah, it is a real life thing. The thing that actually makes you great can be the thing that actually, you know, causes your undoing at the end. So, again, congratulations to Earl the Truth Spence, or Earl the Big Fish Spence, whatever adjectives that are positive that you would like to call him. He's that. So again, I definitely appreciate the way that you have brought attention to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, making this a hotbed for boxing, and we are deeply appreciative of the impact that you've actually made here in this particular area. So, from the bottom of my heart, we definitely appreciate you, and it's a big Dallas, Texas already for Earl the Truth Spence. Now, we transition over to the modern era of boxing. To be nice about it, with this particular instance with Keyshawn Davis declining to actually fight Devin Haney in Atlanta, Georgia for the WBO belt at 147 pounds, which he was the one that made all the noise for that particular fight. And for him to not take the fight, I will say this. Mr. Davis, I have been very supportive of you, despite your antics in your homecoming fight, where you had everybody out to support you, including the mayor of your city, to come out and support you, and you did not make weight, and you thought that because this is a big card in your hometown, that De Los Santos was just going to go ahead and go through with it. And then when he didn't, to save face, you wanted to act like it was no big deal, and basically let all of the people who paid their hard-earned money for their tickets to actually watch you fight, and then just let the people down that were actually supporting you, like Mike Vick, and then of course your mayor, and then Terrence Bud Crawford came out to that particular fight to actually watch you fight, and you just basically not handling your business and calling yourself the businessman. That should have been something to kind of let the rest of us know what you were really about. Then you turn around and you have a fight, of course, in your hometown against Nair Albright, which you had you had a no contest because you tested positive for marijuana in the original fight that was in San Antonio. You bring it to your hometown. Now, the only reason that really you were able to try and do that was because of what happened the first time in your hometown with him beating your brother Kelvin. Okay, I'm sure that Kelvin is a great human being, and I'm not gonna say anything negative about it. I'll just leave that alone. But listen, Keyshawn, this bullshit that you're doing now, You need to change your motherfucking name from the businessman to something else because you are not handling business at all. What kind of shit is this, man? You are a fighter, and you were supposed to be a world champion fighter, and you're not fighting? And I don't want to hear none of this shit about, oh, y'all don't understand the business of boxing now, and this is how I get my money and all of that. Okay, there are people that are actually fighting in smoke-filled bars and gymnasiums and things of that nature, trying to get their career off the ground, and they have a hunger to try to make things better for their boxing career. And to your credit, you started off on a high plateau because you were an Olympian for the 2020 Olympics. Of course, with COVID and everything else, you fought in 2021. Unfortunately, you came away with a silver medal. You had a gentleman. You had a gentleman from Cuba, and I won't say his name because I know it triggers you. Actually defeat you in the gold medal match, and you just haven't been the same as far as confidence ever since. Let's just be honest about that. I just don't understand. You play like you'll actually take a risk or you'll take a chance, but okay, you sit around and play like you'll take a risk or take a chance, but when it comes down to it, you just don't. So what I would probably say at this point is, Keyshawn, you better not ever fix your mouth to call anybody a hoe again. All right? Because to be quite honest with you, you making hoe moves yourself. You have done so nearly your whole professional career. So don't call nobody no hoe no more. You need to take a good, strong look in the mirror before you call anybody out their name. This bullshit that you pulling, I can't get behind that, man. And you about to be in Adrian Broner territory, which is, I'm not fucking with you no more. Now, Adrian Broner has actually been as far as like personality wise, in his prime, he was a solid dude. He was a fighter for the people. Okay? I don't care, I don't care how crude and everything else he was, or braggadocious or whatever. He held it down for us black people. And I did appreciate him for that. But at the same time, you can only let people like me down so many times before it's like, nah, I'm good on you. Now, to Adrian Broner's situation, I think what really just broke the proverbial straw on the camel's back was the Mikey Garcia fight. There's no fucking way he should have lost that fight to Mikey Garcia at all. Okay? I've seen that he physically had a good training camp. It seemed as though he was actually disciplined and ready to try and fight, but nope. He goes in the ring and he basically has a good first round and then just lays an egg after he gets hit with a good right hand by Garcia. He just shells up and he don't do shit the rest of the fight. Doesn't do a goddamn thing the rest of the motherfucking fight. And that's when I had to quit Adrian Broner. I think the same thing is actually going to wind up happening with Keyshawn because of these hoe moves that he's actually pulling. And I don't, I cannot get behind somebody that is supposed to be all business and supposed to be this big and grand champion. And then when it's time to actually do something about it, you bitch up. So now, I can't support that anymore. I can't support that any longer. All right. Anyway, I cannot I cannot keep getting behind somebody that makes these business moves like he's doing. So, Keyshawn, speaking as a fan, and I don't, you know what? I don't even give a fuck if you give a fuck. To be quite honest, I'm saying this for me. I am not gonna continue to support hoe ass niggas. Okay, that's it. That's all. I'm not gonna continue to support hoe ass niggas. All right, and take that how you want to take it. So since we talking about hoe ass niggas, we might as well talk about Shakur Stevenson. Um, I probably shouldn't have segued it that way because I don't want to call this man out his name. So, okay, sorry for that. I'm just in a mood right now because I love the sport of boxing and the way that these modern day boxers are actually moving. They're going to destroy this great art of boxing because you all are trying to come up with some sort of ulterior business moves to try to maximize money. And I understand it to some level, but even me being a person that actually works a regular job, okay, even me being a person that works a regular job, it's like turning down a paycheck from a job that you know you'll be able to work to try to quote unquote hold out for a better job. In the meantime, you're not getting no income. There's no unemployment coming in, nothing like that. But you supposedly holding out for a bigger and better job. That's not always gonna work. And then, from a reputation standpoint, people aren't gonna want to do business with you because of the way that you actually moving. Um, Now Shakur wants to come back and say, well, hey, you know, I still stand behind what I said about 144 pounds. At this motherfucking point, just make the fucking fight. I'm tired of hearing about this stupid ass shit. Either you make the fight or you don't make the fight. I don't want to hear shit about, oh, I'm trying to get this negotiation done and all this other shit. Just make the fucking fight happen. If you gonna fight, fight. Okay? This is how you make your living. So fucking make the fight. I'm sick of hearing about this shit. And Shakur, before you try to personally insult me or what the fuck ever it is you do, or insult my boxing intelligence or whatever, know this. I've probably been doing this shit before you were born. And for somebody to try to insult my boxing intelligence and not know who Marvelous Marvin Hagler was is very fucking funny to me. You don't even know who Marvelous Marvin Hagler was, and you trying to insult me? The fuck out of here. Yeah. And for your information, I have done everything but actually or officially compete in boxing. I've done everything. I've done the actual training. I've even done a weight cut just to see what weight I could actually make. And then, of course, yes, that does include sparring. Okay? And I have done that since the early 2000s. I would say probably 2004, but I was taught boxing in 1993. All right? I had a neighbor named Alton Jariki Sr., who Alton Jariki Jr. Wound up being a very good amateur. He was an outstanding amateur, of course, in the state of Texas, and wound up actually going to like Junior Olympics nationals and competing there. So, I kind of know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm talking about boxing. So, for those that just want to challenge that or what the fuck ever y'all want to do, I would not recommend it. Okay, I don't know everything about boxing. Okay, especially the business portions of boxing, things of that nature. But you all are fighters. You all fight for a living. Just fight. It's very fucking simple. If you don't fight, you don't get paid, right? You don't get any of the endorsements or anything else like that if you don't fight. All right. Now you all may be talking about, oh, I have my money invested in X, Y, and Z and all of that. But the income has to actually come from getting in the fucking ring. So just get in the ring. You know what's gonna happen? You guys are gonna fuck around and keep doing these stupid ass business practices, and then somebody like MAGA Man, aka Daniel White, is actually gonna swoop in, take over boxing, and then you're fighting for significantly less than what you want, but you actually have to fight, and you have to fight often to try to afford the lifestyle that you want. And then you kind of find yourself on a 9 to 5 type grind, and then you're really fucking miserable because you really can't call your own shots and do what you want to do. Now, before that actually happens, I would suggest making the fights that need to be made. That way, when when the general public says stuff like I'm saying, you can shut us the fuck up because you're actually making these fights. But I'm sure y'all don't want to do no shit like that. I'm sure that y'all trying to maximize the money that you're actually bringing in and all that other good shit that y'all talk about. And, just fuck things up for yourself. And the fans. Excuse me, not the fans, of actual supporters. Fans are fanatics. I don't get behind that type of shit. Anyway, I'm just very disillusioned by the way that people are actually doing business in this modern era of boxing. Yes, Floyd Money Mayweather was a pioneer as far as maximizing income, and as far as these fights go. But what people don't realize, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this because this person actually popularized this statement. Boxing Ego, who I no longer follow, made a very powerful statement, and this is decades ago. He was saying that everybody wants to be Floyd Money Mayweather, but doesn't want to put in the pretty boy Floyd work. He was accurate in saying that. So, you all have to realize that everybody is not going to be Floyd Money Mayweather. Floyd Money Mayweather was a one of one, and that particularly is a very poor example at this particular point because of the struggles that he's having. So I think that you all should actually learn from an instance like that, as opposed to just trying to emulate or repeat that particular type of situation, because now he's actually trying to fight for a check. So this tactic that you're actually doing to try to maximize the money and all of that other crap, when it backfires, then what are you all gonna do? Because it's not gonna be a situation where y'all are gonna keep being able to get away with this type of stuff. You not. The people that actually support boxing and pay their hard-earned money ain't gonna stand for this shit. Get in the ring and fight who you're supposed to fight. Point blank and period. And if you all can't do that, get the fuck out the way. I love this sport, but I really hate the people that are actually involved sometimes. I really do. And some of you promoters, y'all can catch the same type of heat. You all are denying us fights that we desperately need as supporters to try to keep the life of this sport or art going. And you all just, there's a plan to maximize money, or we want to build this fight for X, Y, and Z. the Deontay Wilder, excuse me, Deontay Wilder and what's my guy, Anthony Joshua fight that should have happened in 2017. That could have been a multi-$100 million fight. Now would probably be reduced to maybe like a what? Maybe an 8-figure fight. If there's still general interest in it. And that fight would have actually been for undisputed, and then both sides would have been able to make a tremendous amount of money and have generational wealth for their families. But because someone like Eddie Hearn wants to play games and deny the fight and things of that nature, then the fight never materialized the way that it should, and now we're denied a generational type fight, which fans or supporters on both sides are actually arguing their case. There should be no argument as far as though that actually goes. The fight should have already happened, and we should have known who the winner of that fight was actually going to be. But nope, not that. And as far as Earl Spence and Bud Crawford went, yes, that turned out to be a one-sided destruction, but there were a lot of concessions that Earl Spence actually had to make in order for that fight to happen. But you know what? He made the fight happen. Why don't y'all take notes on that type of shit as opposed to just being so motherfucking prideful and thinking that you're going to get money that you probably not realistically going to get and just make the fight. Y'all are fighters. Y'all train every day for this shit. I cannot stress enough that if you dedicate your life to getting in the ring and then finding a way to beat your opponents and make money off of that, then you should have no problem making a fair and negotiable deal to try to get in the ring with the opposition that you should be getting in the ring with. Now, as far as somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis, he's already spelled out that he doesn't care about fighting the best in his era or being the best in his era. He just wants to get his money and leave. Fine. Get the fuck out the way. Leave. Okay? Leave. Get your check. Go home. Stay the fuck out the way. I just don't get it. I just don't fucking get it. And before I keep going on and rambling about the same thing, I'm going to just go ahead and cut it short. Of course, the synopsis or the summary of this is, look, you fighters, you modern day era fighters need to fight who you're supposed to fucking fight before someone else who doesn't have your best intent, who doesn't have like your best sorry y'all, stumbling on words here because of course I'm that frustrated. The with modern day fighters, please get your shit together, okay? Because as I was trying to mention, there's gonna be somebody like Mega Man, aka Dana White, that's actually going to take over the sport. What's gonna wind up happening is, if y'all keep this bullshit up, Dana White's gonna take over this sport. He is not gonna have your best interest in mind, and he's basically going to force you to fight 3 to 5 times a year for probably a third of the money that you actually feel like you deserve, but you have no other choice to fight. So think about that. Think about that long and hard pause or whatever before it's too late. They're already doing stuff to repeal the Muhammad Ali Act, which is gonna mess up your rights as a fighter. Y'all not paying attention to that shit. This modern era of boxing, it is going to cost the supporters of this particular art, which we love very much and which we are passionate about, which is why I went on damn near a 45-minute rant about this whole thing and haven't even talked about my Pittsburgh Steelers yet. I just this has to stop before someone actually comes in and makes it stop. You better heed what I'm telling you guys. Make the fights that you are supposed to make happen, or somebody else is going to come in and force things on you, and it happens for a third of the money that you feel like you deserve. I'm Brent Fox. It's just me. And I'm getting the fuck out of here before I start all over again. Bye.